Chair Samantha, I'm submitting a question on behalf of all college recent graduates for the candidates in the upcoming gubernatorial election. As governor, what are your plans to ensure that recent graduates can find meaningful work or sustain good jobs to fulfill their own American dream and ultimately enrich the communities that we live in? Thank you.
Did you understand?
Do you mind repeating just the
Not at all. As governor, what are your plans to ensure that recent graduates can find meaningful work or sustain good jobs to fulfill their own American dream and ultimately enrich the communities in which we live?
Well, thank you. I think it's a great question, and it's a lot of people talk about the brain drain that exists, where a lot of people are leaving the state. One of the things I think we need to do is to promote our state and make sure people understand that Rhode Island is a special place and it's a wonderful place to raise up women. I think the other thing that we need to do, and I was talking with someone today about it, I was talking with Big History. He's mid-20s, started his own business, Mojo Tech. They have 35 people who work there, 30 from in Providence and 5 in New York, and has a technology business doing apps. We need more Mojo Techs in Rhode Island. We need to create more businesses and make it easier for our college graduates to create businesses. Charlie Crow started a business in one of the Brown dorm rooms. He just sold it for almost $40 million to a New Hampshire company. We need a climate that tells young people this is a place to be, this is a place to start a business and to live. And I look forward to working as governor to make sure we create that climate.
Thank you. Ken?
We won't get the new jobs that we all need if it makes much more sense for businesses to set up shop in Massachusetts than it does in Rhode Island. That's just a brutal fact. We have to bring the worst of the taxes down that take us out of the running, that make us uncompetitive with Massachusetts. We have to bring down the cost of doing business in downtown Providence. We have 195 land that had very little corporate interest in it. Probably not for the least of which reasons is due to the very, very high corporate property tax rate that Providence has, one of the highest in the country. To bring our state back, we have to be economically competitive. I have a plan not just to cut taxes, I have a plan on how we pay for it. I'm an expert in finding efficiencies in government. I'm an expert in finding waste and fraud. And we're going to, in a very systematic, very fair way, make sure we find the monies necessary to bring our state to economic competitiveness and to bring the jobs back to the state that we need. We just can't advertise ourselves and hope that the jobs show up. That's just not reasonable.
Thank you. Allan?
One of the saddest statements that I can make is that our biggest export right now isn't any particular product out of the state. It's our student population. We're losing a lot of talented individuals. And it's a challenge. And particularly for students like Erica, I want to keep a lot of them here. And I recognize, especially coming from a small business background with my parents, people that want to start a business now face a lot more bureaucracy, bigger needs at all levels of government, as well as getting access to capital and knowing how to access capital. And that's why when I kicked off my campaign in November, I was the first candidate to announce venture seed fund to help support many of those students coming out of college universities with a $5,000 seed grant to allow them professional help so that they can get, whether it's a lawyer, accountant, or anyone, to help put together that business plan so they can get their foot in the door and get access to capital and keep them here.
Thank you. Todd?
In preparing for tonight's forum, I recognize that on the logo Women's Fund it says engage, invest, and act. And that's what I've been doing for these last several years. I've been early out to talk about a jobs plan and a way to pay for it for a number of years now. The bad deals on 38 Studios, it's hard to overcome this bad investment policy. But the fact is, to retain our best and brightest and to encourage new business startups, we do need to offset the cost of new business startups. I propose to do that with part of my Commerce Fund. I think that $500 startup fee can be a grant available. I think we can provide a couple $1,000s of seed money. So I think that's going to also increasing the minimum wage. This question came around earlier this year, and I said, well, geez, wouldn't it be great if they could pass the minimum wage wage to $10 an hour before these students graduated this season. So there's a number of measures I support, and again, lowering state taxes is going to create that wiggle room between what we earn and what we pay. Thank you.
Thank you. Clay?
One of the greatest barriers facing recent graduates is the unconscionable level of debt that they are graduating with. I think it is just wrong to be mortgaging the futures of our young people as they begin their careers. In this state, we have the 5th highest level of debt for our students, and this is not surprising when we have the 47th lowest investment in our higher ed system per capita. We have to invest in our students and in their futures. That's why I proposed the Hope Scholars Program, to make sure that we, in many cases, make CCRI free to those people with financial aid who are not there right now. It's why we have to make URI affordable again. And it's why we have to, across the board, make sure that our career pathways are lined up, our educational system is lined up with career pathways that are out there so people can get jobs. And one final point, let's make capital accessible to people when they graduate so they can get something going right now. Thanks.
Thank you. The next question, I think Ken begins again. And
I didn't hear
oh,
that.
sorry about that, Gina.
So it's an excellent question. The other night I was at dinner with a group of people. There were 5 of them, and they, between them, had 16 adult children. And they said that not a single one of those 16 adult children lived in Rhode Island. And almost every one of them wanted to. They just couldn't get a job here. It is time for a governor with the courage to take on the tough issues, the ability to bring people together and get people back to work. We are past tinkering, we are past small proposals, we are long past Hail Mary passes like 38 Studios or special deals for someone. We need a thoughtful, robust economic development statewide strategy, which I have laid out in detail on my website and encourage you to look at it. We need to bring back manufacturing jobs. We need a workforce training program, especially for people who've been out of work for some time. We need to rebuild, to have infrastructure and put people to work, and we need a tourism strategy. And we need to get going now.
Thank you.